students, I'm back with your next class. In today's class, we are going to start a new chapter, that is Organism and Population. This chapter is going to be the first chapter of ecology. Okay, so let's start with ecology. First of all, what is ecology, right? So ecology is the science that deals with the interaction and interrelationship between the organisms and its physical environment. Okay? That means the environment in which we live, we continuously interact, or our survival is going to be ensured by certain biotic factors, that is the other living organisms, and also the abiotic factors like water, light, air, etc. Isn't it? So the interrelationship between these biotic and abiotic factors will be studying under ecology. Okay, so as per definition, it goes as such. Ecology deals with the study of interactions and interrelationship between organisms and their environment. Alright. Also do remember, it is E.P. Odum who defined ecology to be the study of structure and function of nature. It's very important. E.P. Odum defined ecology to be the study of structure and function of nature. Alright, so now that you know what ecology is, let me discuss with you first regarding certain levels of organization present in ecology. Okay, so namely there are 7 levels of organizations found in ecology, starting with organisms. Okay, so first of all, what is organism? It is the basic unit of ecology. So the ecological studies first begins with the one single individual, okay, be it from any species. When you study one single individual of a species regarding anything, like it could be the behavior, it could be the adaptations that the organism shows in its environment, could be its form, its physiology, its distribution, its adaptation pattern. Anything that you study of a particular individual of a species, that would be regarded as the organism, the first level of organization. Okay. Now, the next level of organization would be population. So all of you know that population means a group of organisms which belongs to the same species and which are found in a given area. Okay, like groups of organisms of the same species in a given area would be termed as population. Alright. So next comes biological community. Now biological community means in a given area there are different types of species that are present, right? So there are different populations which are present. So all of that populations of a given area taken collectively will be known as biological community. Okay, so we have started with a single individual, that's the organism. Then a group of similar organisms would make up the population, and all the population that are present in a given area together forms the biological community. Alright, now next is ecosystem. It's a very important term, ecosystem. We'll rather be discussing ecosystem in very much of details in the next chapter. So ecosystem means the biological community plus the physical environment. Together, that means biotic and abiotic factors. Together is known as the ecosystem. Because see, whenever an organism is going to be found in its in a given area, it will not be able to survive only by interacting with the other communities or other biological organisms itself, isn't it? Biological organisms are important. We are continuously interacting with other species in our surrounding, and we are continuously interdependent on them, or we are interacting with them. That's how we are surviving. But this interaction couldn't have been possible without the abiotic factors like light, water, temperature, air. All these are also very much important for us to interact or for us to survive, isn't it? So biotic plus abiotic factor, which gives you a functional unit where life can exist, that is known as the ecosystem. Alright. Next, landscape. A unit of land with natural boundary having different ecosystems. So landscape means again a large area which is having its own boundary and where many will lie. Okay. Now that you know what is ecosystem, so many ecosystems under a common boundary will form landscape. Alright. Next, biome. A large regional unit characterized by major flora and fauna found in a specific climatic zone. So now we are going into much larger region. Okay. Landscape was already a larger unit of area or a land with its natural boundary where many ecosystems would be present. But then when we go to biome, we are making the area much more larger. We are bringing into account many more things. Like here, we are bringing into account not only major flora, that means the vegetation type, and the associated fauna. I think all of you would agree that in a given area, whatever type of vegetation is present, plants are present, accordingly animals are present, isn't it? So, the major vegetation and its associated animals or fauna, that would be present, plus there will also be a specific climatic zone that together will make up a biome. Alright. And finally, the last is biosphere. So biosphere means it is the life supporting zone consisting of all Earth's terrestrial and aquatic biomes. So the whole Earth or wherever in Earth life is being supported or life exists, that will fall under biosphere. So the whole Earth is going to be considered a biosphere because biosphere will include all terrestrial biomes as well as aquatic biomes. So the life supporting zone on Earth can be known as biosphere. Understood this? So now that you have learned about all the levels of organizations under ecology, so in this chapter mainly we are going to discuss 4 levels of organization, that is organisms, population, biological community and biomes. Alright, these are the 4 that we are going to discuss in details in this chapter. So now let us discuss a little bit regarding organism and its environment, how they are related. Okay, see, ecology at organismic level is essentially related to physiological aspects. So whenever we are trying to study an individual organism, we mainly study its physiology. Okay, and that on the other hand studies how different organisms are adapted to surrounding environment in terms of their survival and reproduction. Alright, now the rotation on the other hand of Earth around Sun and the tilt of its axis causes annual variation in intensity and duration of temperature. And this would lead to formation of various seasons, summer, winter, autumn or spring. Okay, summer, winter, autumn or spring. And finally, this variation in temperature and precipitation, that is rainfall, would form the major biomes. Okay, so what are the major biomes? Tundra, taiga, temperate forest, grassland, desert and tropical rainforest. So these are the major biomes present in the world. Okay, so let us discuss them a little bit first before we move on to the major biomes that are present in India. So now let us discuss a little bit regarding the major biomes that are present in the world. First, tropical rainforest. The tropical rainforest being the most biodiverse, see here the main characteristics are rich in biodiversity, 30 to 40 meter tall trees, 4 to 5 strata, that means 4 to 5 different types of soil, buttress roots which will be like shallow feeders, and finally woody climbers and epiphytes. All of you know epiphytes means the plants which grows above the surface of another plant, right? Like in case of the space parasites vanda. Next, coniferous forest or taiga, 30 to 35 meter tall trees. Coniferous trees, all of you know coniferous trees means trees which have a cone shaped appearance. They show excurrent habit, means the lowermost branches will be much longer and the uppermost branches will keep on getting shorter, hence giving rise to a cone shaped appearance, right? Like in most gymnosperms, all of you know about it. The plants are evergreen, so they don't shed their leaves, and leaves are long, needle-like. That is again because the plants will be able to save some water or reduce transpiration due to that. Examples, all of you know, major gymnosperms, pine, deodar, cypress, etc. Next, temperate forest. Temperate forest, 25 to 30 meter tall trees are present. Deciduous trees means they will be shedding their leaves in winter and they would be possessing broad leaves. Now they are going to possess broad leaves, unlike in case of coniferous forest. And oak. Oak is the most predominant species. Alright. Next, grassland. As the name itself says, this is going to be an area which will be full of grass. Tree-less biome. Trees won't be present. So it is tree-less biome. Grasses are the most predominant and sometimes legumes in the form of herbs may be present. Next, tundra. It is towards the pole. So in that case it would be cold, right? So in that case, see the characteristics. Permafrost soil. Soil which remains frozen for around a year or more than a year is known as permafrost soil. So the soil here would remain frozen. Scanty vegetation, that is very obvious. If the soil itself remains frozen for such a long time, in that case vegetation would be very less. Trees of course would be absent. Grasses, sages, mosses and lichens are present, and birches and willows are the example. Okay, birches means betula and willows salix. They are the predominant species. Next, desert. Again, all of you know about deserts. Vegetation is sparse, that means less. Again, why? Due to less of water, because water itself is so sparse or so scarce. So in that case, the vegetation is also going to be less. Three types of plants are mainly found in the deserts. First is ephemerals. Ephemerals means short-lived annual herbs. Okay. Next is succulent xerophyte. So all of you know this is the major, the most common type of vegetation seen in a desert, where the plants will show various adaptations that are xerophytic. Means they will show sunken stomata. There will be thick cuticle present. The leaves will be caducous, isn't it? So there will be spines present. Right? Instead of leaves, there will be spines present. All this is to save water or to reduce transpiration. And finally, deep-rooted shrubs and small trees are also present. Like example, Prosopis, Salvadora, Tamarix, etc. Alright. So these are the major biomes present in the world. Now next, let us have a look at the different biomes present in India. So now, for the major biomes present in India, we have 4 major biomes here. The types of biome are tropical rainforest, where the mean annual temperature in degree centigrade is 23 to 27 and mean annual rainfall in mm would be 2000 to 3500, and the important vegetation would be Dipterocarpus and Hopia. Another is tropical deciduous forest. It has the mean annual temperature of 22 to 32 degrees Celsius. Annual rainfall will be 900 to 1600 mm, and important vegetations would be sal, teak, tendu, chironji and cape. Temperate broadleaf forest, the third one. It has the mean annual temperature that is 6 to 20 degrees Celsius, that's very less, and mean annual temperature would be around 1000 to 2500 mm, and the major most important predominant species would be oak, that is Quercus. Last is temperate needle leaf forest, where the temperature is further lower, 6 to 15 degrees Celsius. Mean annual rainfall would be 500 to 1700 mm, and important vegetation would be pine, deodar, cypress, spruce and silverfir. Alright, so this list is very important as it signifies the major biomes of India. All of you try remembering the examples. So now that you have learned about the various types of biomes that are present in the world or in India, now let us focus on the various or the major abiotic factors which are going to form a major proportion of this chapter. So the abiotic environment includes these 3 major categories of factors. First is climatic, that includes light, temperature, water and wind. Edaphic, that includes soil and everything associated with it. And topographic. Topographic means physical factors related to slopes, altitudes and others concerned with the surface of Earth. Okay, so we'll be discussing all of these under abiotic factors in details. So now that you know that what are the major abiotic factors, do remember that certain kind of local variations or regional variations in the biomes would create various types of habitats. Okay, now these habitats can be of two types. They can be favorable habitats, or else they can have extremities as well, like scorching heat in Rajasthan, or else you can say the hot thermal springs, or else the mountain tops, or else rain-soaked Meghalaya. All of these are various types of habitats that would be formed again due to certain local variations in the biomes. Alright, even human intestine is a unique habitat to so many different types of microbes. Alright, so now that you know what are the various abiotic factors deciding upon these habitats, do remember among all these factors the most important are light, temperature, water and soil. These are the most important factors that will be deciding upon the physical and chemical composition of various habitats. So let us discuss these four in details. So before we move into discussion of the major abiotic factors, there are a few important terms that you must know. They are very important for your exam. So these terms are habitat and niche. Okay. So what is the meaning of habitat and niche? These are important definitions related to the terms, but let me first make you understand the meaning in a simple manner. See, habitat, what is the meaning of habitat? The most simplest way you can understand that is by a single word, that is address. Okay, where exactly the organism lives. Okay, that is known as its habitat. Its address is its habitat. Okay, now when an organism is found in an habitat, it simply doesn't live there, isn't it? It does not simply survive there. It also plays a very important role. It has a functional role to play in such environment, right? So what designation or what functional role the organism has in its habitat, that is known as niche. Alright, so in that case, in one word, habitat means address and niche means designation. What is the role of that organism in that habitat? Okay, for example, cat eats mouse in the residential area. So residential area will become the habitat of cat. Okay, whereas eating mice, okay, keeping the food chain in balance, or eating or feeding upon mice and keeping the population of mice in check and all, that becomes its ecological role. So that is its functional role. So eating mice becomes its niche. Understood this? Now there is a particular rule, that is Gauss's principle of competition exclusion. Okay, according to which it is suggested that if two organisms, they share the same habitat and they also share the common niche, then one of them will be excluded. One of them would no more survive, it will become extinct. Okay, for example, suppose cat eats mice in residential area, owl also eats mice in the residential area. So their habitat is residential area, same, and their functional role or designation also becomes same, that is eating mice. So according to principle of competition exclusion, either cat or owl will be eliminated from that habitat. Only one of them will be able to be present there, or one of them will be able to survive. Alright? But then this problem can be solved. This problem can be solved by changing the habitat. Okay? Now if suppose cat remains in the residential area for eating mice, whereas owl goes to a non-residential area for eating mice. So they are having same niche, but they have different habitats now. Now none of them will become excluded. Both of them will be able to survive and exist. So now owl and cat, they have the same niche but different habitats. Hence we call these two organisms to be ecological equivalence. Is that clear? So remember this then in a very simple manner. Habitat means address of the organism, and niche means the functional role of the organism, means its designation in the ecosystem or in its habitat. Okay? Now, if two organisms they share the common niche and the common habitat, one of them will be excluded. Okay? So that's why if these two organisms shift their habitat, now even if they share the common niche, they will be able to survive. So now these two organisms will become or will be referred as ecological equivalents. Is that clear? Now you can read this definition so that it becomes more clear to you. Like habitat, it is the address of the organism. Okay? It includes biotic components like pathogen, parasites, predators and competitors which are in continuous interaction with it. So these organisms are going to continuously interact with this organism. That's how it will survive in the habitat. Next, ecological niche. So it represents the designation of the organism. That means it is the range of habitat it can tolerate, the resources it can utilize and its functional role in the ecosystem. Alright? And finally, ecological equivalence. Organisms that occupy similar ecological niche in different geographical region or different habitat, they would be known as ecological equivalence. Examples would be owl and cat. I hope all of you are clear about it because this is very, very important part. Next, we are finally going to discuss their biotic factors in details. But that we'll do in the next class. Thank you.